Should India's Prime Minister Modi-led government retaliate if Bangladesh joins the already failed Mecca Pact with Pakistan, Turkey and Saudi Arabia at a time when a desperate Dhaka is also begging New Delhi for more electricity and diesel? The Indian government has now proposed an additional tax or charge on the electricity it already exports to Bangladesh. Now, the amount may sound tiny to you, but the timing is raising eyebrows. Is this a symbolic message to Dhaka? Join the Mecca Pact and be ready to pay the price. This also raises a bigger question. Is India simply changing the administrative cost of cross-border electricity trade, or is New Delhi signaling that cooperation cannot be taken for granted? If Bangladesh threatens India's security by entering a defense pact with Pakistan, then India is within its rights to protect its own interests in diesel, border security, and most importantly, Indian rivers. Let's get into it. India's Central Electricity Regulatory Commission has proposed a new settlement nodal agency charge of just 0.005 rupees per unit. It seems to be just a symbolic message on the 1,160 megawatts of electricity India already supplies Bangladesh through the NTPC Vidyut Vyapar Nigam. Earlier, Bangladesh requested India for diesel to meet its power shortage and crisis, while the country faces crippling power shortages with malls and shops directed to shut by 8 p.m. and regions outside capital Dhaka facing blackouts which last for hours. And while Bangladesh keeps reaching out for electricity, the country has been linking Tarique Rahman's first visit to India as Prime Minister to former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's extradition from India. Now, when India first proposed this additional new tax or charge, Bangladesh's Power Development Board begged New Delhi to reduce it further. So now New Delhi has made some relaxations and trimmed it down from an initially discussed 0.01 per unit to just 0.005 per unit, or half. And while this is not a stiff tariff hike, it is an administrative fees for Indian grid scheduling, metering and cross-border transition. But the timing also remains controversial, since this comes alongside Bangladesh expressing a vocal interest in joining the Mecca Pact. Now, Bangladesh's State Minister for Foreign Affairs Humayun Kabir told reporters, quote, "We are interested in the Mecca Defence Pact matter. After the government was formed under the leadership of Prime Minister Tarique Rahman, we were informed about joining various agreements in different places and we are moving forward accordingly. We hope to respond positively to the Mecca Pact." But the Mecca Pact states that attack on any one country will be considered an attack on another. So if Indian military retaliates to any terror attack in Kashmir by Pakistan, would Bangladesh consider it an attack by India on itself? And if so, would it dare to threaten India? In such a scenario, can India provide such a country with subsidized electricity and diesel? India's Ministry of External Affairs says it is examining the request for more diesel by Dhaka. After Sheikh Hasina's ouster in August 2024, India had actually paused expansion of the Friendship Pipeline amid friction with the non-elected interim Yunus government. It was only after the BNP-led government under Tarique Rahman took office in 2026 that India's Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri indicated that Bangladesh's request would be considered favorably. Earlier, India suspended visa services in Bangladesh and imposed restrictions on Bangladeshi imports of Bangladeshi goods to India amid attacks on Hindu minorities in the country by Islamist extremist groups. In a recent speech, Rahman made no mention of India's supply of 7,000 tons of diesel to his country this year, while he did highlight energy cooperation with China and Malaysia on the ongoing energy crisis. Our news report on India-Pakistan tensions was ranking among the top 5 in Google News videos. I am Shobhit Mittal. Do subscribe to Inconnect News for the most informative news content. Now, some might arguably and questionably call Bangladeshis as thankless, or maybe others would call it an oversight. So now Bangladesh has linked Prime Minister Rahman's first visit to New Delhi once again with India extraditing Sheikh Hasina. Now, so far, India has not accepted the Bangladeshi request. After all, Sheikh Hasina is not a petty criminal. She is a former head of state. So now India has sent a stern warning to Dhaka. New Delhi's patience could run out against its much smaller neighbor. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar stated, "For any relationship to work, it has to meet the test of mutual interest. It has to work for them. It has to work for us. I'm not expecting neighbors to do only what's in my interest. There has to be a fair degree, a reasonable degree of my recognizing and respecting what is their interest, just as I expect them to do so." Still, Bangladesh seems intent in joining the Mecca Pact. Bangladesh's Humayun Kabir claims it is not unusual to join if there is a security pact among Muslim nations, hinting that their vision is not limited to the current 3 countries. He added that he wants the pact to expand further and possibly one day bring all the countries in the region under this framework. Out of the over 50 nations in the OIC, or the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, not one country is a democracy. They are either ruled by extremist preachers or military dictators or wealthy families. Not one Muslim majority nation is among the top 10 economies in the world. In fact, the top 5 or the biggest 5 humanitarian crises in the world today are in OIC affiliated nations, including Yemen, Sudan, Afghanistan, Syria, and of course Gaza. Still, countries want to bet their own future on a concept that has failed to progress with the world. But has the Mecca Pact failed already? Dr. S. Jaishankar recently questioned the credibility of the Mecca Pact, stating, "There are live military situations which each of the signatories face. What has the Mecca Pact done in response to that?" Pakistan's border conflicts with Afghanistan continues. Turkey faces resistance from Kurdish groups, and now it risks a war with Israel, while Houthis backed by Iran continue border skirmishes with the Saudis. The Islamic world is divided like never before. Still, Bangladesh wants to bet its future on religious lines rather than the welfare of its own people. Is Dhaka forgetting the genocide carried out by Pakistani military before it got independence in 1971 thanks to India? Turkey took 3 years to recognize Bangladesh, only in 1974. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, however, recently made a 3-day visit to Dhaka. Alongside Bangladesh's Foreign Minister Khalilur Rahman, he confirmed Dhaka is allocating an economic zone in Chittogram for Turkish military industrial investment intended to host factories producing drones, tanks, and electronic defense systems, and the 2 countries agreed to set up a joint defense and foreign ministry committee. Meanwhile, Dhaka and Islamabad, historically cold since 1971 war, have steadily rebuilt their ties. Pakistan's Asim Munir met Bangladesh's Air Chief Marshal Hassan Khan in Rawalpindi in January. Separately, Saudi Crown Prince MBS has invited Rahman to visit Saudi Arabia, with diplomatic reports pointing to an October window this year. For now, India is only stepping up defense infrastructure along its most sensitive corridor, the Siliguri corridor, the 22-kilometer wide strip of West Bengal, which is sandwiched between Nepal and Bangladesh, the only land link between mainland India and its 7 northeastern states. India has announced a 40-kilometer underground rail link through this corridor and set up 3 new military garrisons to surround Bangladesh. A new Lachit Borphukan military station has come up in Dhubri, Assam, near the India-Bangladesh border, hosting rapid deployment forces, intelligence units, and special forces. A 4th military garrison or a military base is planned in Mizoram, near Bangladesh's Chittagong hill tracts. But what do you believe? Should India snap Bangladesh's 2 chicken necks before it enters any defense pact with India's enemies? Leave a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe to Inconnect News.